For this lesson on how to read charts, we're going to be looking at racial disparities in wealth. The US Census Bureau has collected data and it shows unequivocally that there are differences across ethnic groups in household income. Median means middle. So this number here is the middle number. Half of Hispanic households make an income annually less than this, and half make an income more than this. And you can compare that to other ethnic groups. The mean is the average, which is higher because there can be a very small handful of millionaires or billionaires who take the median, they bring the average up. So it's a skewed data. So the mean is skewed to the right. This data set is skewed to the right. There are a lot of different reasons why we see these differences across ethnic groups, and we'll be looking at some of those reasons in the math lesson today. One reason is that there are differences in the salaries that people are offered. So there continues to be implicit bias in the hiring process and in what salary people are offered. Harvard Business School did a study in 2016 where they sent out the exact same resume to a lot of different businesses, and they said, would you hire this person and how much would you offer them as a starting salary? And what they found was that people with ethnic sounding names on the resume, exact same resume, would be offered less money than the white names. And the people with white names, white sounding names, would be twice as likely to be called back for an interview. So there continues to be bias, even in corporations that claim to be trying not to have bias. We also see difference in income from salary and wages because there are less job opportunities in minority communities. So we need to invest in minority community businesses so there's more job opportunities in those neighborhoods. And there's also a difference in income and salary that's correlated with education. So you'll see the size of this bar and the differences in average income from salary and wages, and you'll see a strong correlation with the enrollment in higher education. So reading this chart, the top row, 65% of Asians ages 18 to 24 are enrolled in college, whereas only 36% of Hispanics in that same age group are enrolled in college. And we know that the higher the level of education you get, the better job opportunities, the better salary that you're going to get. We also look at what percentage of each group actually graduates within 6 years. And studies have shown strong correlation between people graduating from college and the level of pre-elementary school that they got. So if we could invest in Head Start programs so people start reading younger and reading critically at a younger age, they'll be more successful in school and succeed in getting a higher education degree, which leads to a higher salary. Capital assets are things like houses and businesses and cars and things like that. And you see a lot more accumulated assets in the white community. And these assets are taxed at a lower rate. Stocks and bonds are taxed at a significantly lower rate than payroll taxes. And the reason you see this accumulation in the white community has to do historically with something called redlining. So it used to be that banks would draw red lines around the minority neighborhoods on the map, and they would refuse to offer a loan to an applicant from those areas. If you were trying to get a loan to start a business or buy a house or buy a car, you would be less likely to get it if you were a minority or from a minority neighborhood than if you were white. So people from the white neighborhoods up until the 1970s had a greater chance of accumulating these sort of capital assets that are taxed at a much lower rate. Furthermore, they could inherit those things. People would inherit their houses because there's no inheritance tax, essentially, in this country. Our founding fathers would be appalled. They would support an inheritance tax, especially on capital assets like stocks and bonds. But continuing with home ownership costs, while redlining is illegal, we still see some implicit bias in the formulas that are supposed to be race blind, the formulas that banks use to determine loan rates and whether or not they'll approve your loan. So given that two people may have the exact same credit rate, they might not both get the same loan or the same loan rate. One of the things that they look at is say, where is the house that you want to buy? So if the house you want to buy is in the community that has higher crime statistics, they're going to charge you a higher interest rate for your loan. It'll cost you more money to buy that house. And we know that minority communities are disproportionately policed and people are disproportionately given citations for small infractions that wouldn't be given in white communities. We also see that loan rates might be linked to the performance of schools in the neighborhood. How did the school perform on their state tests? You know those state tests you guys love to take? So if you do well on it and you increase the scores, then you'll get a better interest rate to buy a house in that neighborhood. And those can be biased based on the neighborhoods. So children are expensive and they bring down household income. Use a condom. It'll save you money. So there continue to be these biases, but there are things that we can do to address these biases. I believe in your generation. Reach out and find the ways to make